Fearless discoverers or bold invaders. Whoever the Spanish conquistadors really were, they played a decisive role in the colonization of America. Let us make a historical excursion and go back in time with the pioneers when the history of the New World was created. Background to colonization. The Spanish colonization of America lasted several long centuries, from 1492 to 1898, and began with the legendary voyage of the navigator Christopher Columbus. The discovery of the Caribbean Sea islands, which the Spanish initially mistook for part of Asia, was the starting point of the colonization period. The first of Columbus' 4 expeditions, with 91 participants on 3 ships, opened 2 new continents to the habitants of the Old World. This significant geographical discovery led to the breach of the valuable resources of the New World, colonialism, and the demographic disaster that affected the Indians. The acceleration of the European society's development led to the growth of the trade and industry volumes, which resulted in the need for a large stock of gold. This caused a massive search for a new way to India, which was considered fabulously rich. The gold was sought by the Portuguese, the French, the Dutch, and other nations, but it was the Spanish who got lucky. Spain, which had just survived an 8-year-old Reconquista period after the fall of Granada, had already managed to form a certain class of warriors, among whom were many marauders accustomed to living through looting. Having freed the south of the country from the Moors, the adventurers should not have remained idle, otherwise they could have endangered Spain itself. In addition, some Mauritanian lands suffered from drought due to population growth. The knights who divided the lands and cut off the younger sons generated a new class of Hidalgo bandits who roamed the country in search of easy prey. It was these groups of warriors who were called upon to displace Muslims out of North Africa, but, having received considerable resistance, switched to the conquest of the New World. The first participants of La Conquista, the conquest of America, became ruthless warriors called conquistadors. The Spaniards landed on Indian lands and destroyed the local population in order to conquer territories they believed held untold wealth. The Indian tribes did not use iron and had no guns, making them easy targets for invaders who wanted to make a quick profit. Stages of colonization and features of colony management. The colonization of the Indian territories included several stages. From 1492 to 1519, the Antilles were developed. Columbus' second expedition in 1493 led to the colonization of the island of Hispaniola, now called Haiti. In 1508, Juan Ponce de Leon, who held the title of Adelantado, the leader of the conquistadors, conquered the island of San Juan. Now, this island is known as Puerto Rico. 1509 marked by the landing of Juan de Esquivel in Jamaica. He also became the first governor of the island. In 1511, Diego Velázquez Consuelo de Cuellar conquered Cuba. In 1513, the Spaniards, led by Vasco Núñez de Balboa, made a 100-day expedition into the North American mainland. The part was later called the Isthmus of Panama. Once in the mountains among the rainforests, the warriors reached the other side of the mainland and saw the Pacific Ocean for the first time, which Balboa named the South Sea. In 1515, the settlement of Nueva Cádiz appeared near the coast of modern Venezuela, which was then the island of Cubagua at that time. During the same period, coastlines were developed. The second phase of colonization was marked by the conquest of the Aztec state by Hernán Cortés in 1521. In their search for treasure, the Spaniards were ruthless, leading to the destruction of an entire civilization. Conquistadors, who owned horses and rifles, were taken by the Indians as ambassadors of the gods. Cortés took advantage of such a combination of circumstances of the Spanish and captured the paramount chief Montezuma. And after receiving a huge ransom in gold, the Spaniards got rid of the chieftain. Elite warriors, jaguars, and eagle knights fought for the independence of the state. The daughter of Montezuma, Tikusipo, also fought alongside them. She, like many Indians, eventually embraced Catholicism and the Spanish order. Having become Isabella, the daughter of the chief has several times married the Spaniards. The Aztec princess even bore Cortés a daughter, whom the leader of the conquistadors personally took care of. Having plundered the main Aztec palace, the Spaniards did not stop. Driven by their belief in legends about the Indians' innumerable treasures, they considered the mined gold to be crumbs and tortured the natives in search of riches. The conquistadors justified their cruelty by the fact that the Aztecs had arranged sacrifices before their arrival. Many Indians became slaves, and Aztec and Mayan civilizations ceased to exist. In the place of their states, colonial countries had been established where Spanish customs, language, and religion had been introduced. All the newly formed colonies were under the control of the Spanish king. The capital of the Aztec Indians was the city of Tenochtitlan with stepped temples located on the island in the middle of the lake. Around it rose volcanic mountains. Now on this place is the largest metropolis on the planet, Mexico City, the capital of Mexico. Between 1523 and 1526, the territory of present-day Guatemala was colonized by Pedro de Alvarado. In 1524, the first Spanish settlements were established in the territory of present-day Nicaragua. The conquest of the settlements was run by Francisco Hernández de Córdoba. In the following years, settlements were established at the entrance to the Gulf of California, where the Tarascan Empire conquered by Nuño Beltrán de Guzmán once existed. The mountain slopes of the Andes became the home of the Incas, who built roads and constructions here. The Incas were planting fields, making pots of precious metals, and cultivating llamas. But peace was disrupted when the fierce Spanish warriors under the command of Francisco Pizarro arrived. According to historical data, there were 177 people on the squad. Having captured the supreme Inca, and without waiting for ransom, the impatient conquistadors killed him. By paving the mountain routes, the Spanish established new colonies, and the conquest of the Inca state lasted from 1532 to 1535. In 1536, Pedro de Mendoza founded Buenos Aires. In the next 2 years, Gonzalo Jiménez de Quesada, together with his detachment, was in the valley of the Bogotá River, where he captured the state of the Chibcha Muisca. In 1540, the conquest of what is now Chile began. Here, the Araucanians put up a worthy resistance to the squad of Pedro de Valdivia. In 1541, the Andes overcame a conquistador squad of Francisco Orellana. Exhausted by a mountain voyage, the warriors found neither gold nor food. All they could see were the impenetrable, endless rainforests. The commander decided to move inland by the river, for which the squad built a ship. The river on which the small ship was launched was a tributary of the Amazon. The Spaniards had to deal with the longest and fullest river in the world for 6 months, accompanied by predatory fish and giant anacondas. The Mayan city of Tayasal on the Yucatan Peninsula faced a long siege. Francisco de Montejo began the conquest of these lands, and his son continued his father's work. Maya settlements were attacked from 1629 to 1697, but the Spanish conquerors succeeded in their mission. In addition to conquering Indian territories, the conquistadors were desperately searching for the legendary country of El Dorado, which was rumored to be made of gold. The search was unsuccessful, but led to the discovery of new territories. Almost all the conquests of the local settlements were made by squads of several hundred warriors, but the Spanish easily achieved their goals, thanks to the fact that Indians were unfamiliar with firearms and horses. Most adelantado not only enriched themselves and replenished the Spanish treasury, but also became the lifetime governors of the captured colonies. Later, these lands were divided into provinces, where even the judiciary system was established. The northern part of the coast of South America was transferred to the bankers personally by the Spanish king and Holy Roman Emperor Charles V. Thus, Spain received loans, but for several decades the territory of modern Venezuela became a German colony. In order to spread Catholicism as the main religion, missionaries arrived on the conquered lands of the Indians. They carried out the baptism of the local population and the confirmation of churches. Also, the Inquisition was created in order to punish the apostates. Spanish colonization, which was feudal in nature, involved compulsory labor duties on plantations. The landowners, the latifundists, took care of the local peasants and lived off their labor. But the Spaniards did not seek to expel Native Americans from their lands. They only wanted to convert them. Against this background, a large number of mixed, distinct subcultures emerged. Moreover, with the collapse of the colonial empire, a number of independent states, viceroyalties, and captaincy generals had emerged. Consequences of the colonization. Spanish colonization led to the death of many Indian states. The traditional culture of the local tribes was destroyed, and the conquered inhabitants converted to Catholicism. The Spanish carried out mass executions of the indigenous population of America to avoid an uprising, and the infectious diseases brought by the conquistadors increased the mortality of the natives, as they had no immunity. In addition, the enslaved population was forced to work hard on plantations and mines. All this caused repeated group suicides. Some local peoples were considered completely extinct, and entire regions were abandoned. 80% of Spanish settlers were men. They married Indian women, which led to an increase in the number of mestizos. In addition, black African slaves began to arrive in the colonies. The American conquest made Spain the largest supplier of precious metals in the European and Asian markets. Merchant ships with gold and silver made regular cruises. The rich flora and fauna of the New World did not leave the Spanish indifferent, so many animals and plants moved around the world. Spanish colonization became one of the most significant events for the whole continent, and the cruelty had given birth to new states.